Bad Movie Crew. Bad Movie Crew.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Bad Movie Crew. I'm your host Neil, as always joined by my brother from another mother and your host Mark.
Heal.
And we are here with another edition of the Bad Movie Crew. Now, of course, you're liking what we were putting down. If you do like what we were putting down, give us a like, give us a comment, give us a share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. But most importantly, please share the content so that we could get all the moviegoers to kind of see what's going on. And let's kind of build this little community in film to see if we on the same page, if we not on the same page, how we feel about movies, because I always got movies.
Always.
Right. Anyhow, my brother, what
Yes, sir.
what are we reviewing on today's episode of the Bad Movie?
We are reviewing Uncharted
And-
based on the video game from Naughty Dog.
Right. We are reviewing a video game movie, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
Right.
And we know how them is going.
Right. So Uncharted, which was released on February 18th, was directed by Ruben Fleischer. He is the director of certain movies like Zombieland, Gangsterland, Venom. So that's them. Yeah. So Ruben Fleischer, Zombieland 1 and 2, Gangsterland, and Venom. It's also produced by Charles Roven, Alex Gartner, and Avid Arid. So Avid Arid, he's
Mm-hmm. He's around. He's been around.
superhero producer and everything like
Correct.
that. So you know that
Correct.
this is going to be on a large scale in terms of like set pieces and that sort of stuff.
Correct.
This is starring Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, Sophia Ali, Tati Gabrielle, Antonio Banderas, and Rudy Pinecourt. Production companies, of course, is produced by Columbia Pictures. So you know that's Sony, right? Columbia Pictures,
Ironically.
right? PlayStation Productions,
Correct.
Atlas Entertainment, A2 Productions, distributed by Sony Pictures, releasing. And the runtime is 160 minutes. Budget is 120 million. So far, it has made $395.2 million. Now, my brother.
Yes, sir.
No. First, I think we have to kind of give what Uncharted means to us because we are two gamers, two PlayStation. What to say, fanboys? Yeah, sure.
Enthusiasts.
Right? And we have played Uncharted extensively, exclusively. Yep.
All of them.
Yep. And it follows Nathan Drake. He is a treasure hunter. He's like Indiana Jones, a younger Indiana Jones, or more. He's a contemporary Indiana Jones.
More modern.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And he obviously has Sully, who is like his
father figure.
Father. Yeah.
That sort of
yeah, confidant.
Mentor.
Confidant, that sort of thing. And they go about adventures around the world trying to find huge treasure. And of course, there are bad guys trying to get that treasure. This is literally a carbon copy of Indiana Jones. Right? Different treasures, different locale, but it's more physical in terms of Nathan doing a lot of parkour and a lot of climbing and a lot of
shooting and
right. So
puzzle solving, that sort of stuff.
Right. No. Of course we can spoil it. Spoiler alert. Let this be your spoiler alert.
The truth matter is, can you spoil something that's based on a video game?
Yeah, because not everybody's played a video game, so
that's your bad.
Well,
that's your bad.
I know what to tell you, but
I know what to tell you later, but that's your bad.
Right. So this is your spoiler warning, spoiler alert. If you have not watched Uncharted, if you've never played the video games, if you know nothing at all about this entire IP, take a minute, pause, put us in your favorites, give us a like and a share and a subscribe, and go and watch Uncharted and come back, and you can watch us for free. Now,
correct.
Uncharted. What did you think about the Uncharted movie, my brother?
When I realized that they were doing an Uncharted movie, I was a little skeptical about the casting choices. Mad respect for Tom Holland, mad respect for Mark Wahlberg, because we would have grown up with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, and he transitioned himself into, I won't say a serious actor, but
he's an action star.
He's transformed into a decent actor.
Yeah, decent actor.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right. So I was skeptical about it. and my skepticism was right. I didn't buy either of them as the characters they were playing. Obviously Tom Holland is playing Nathan Drake, a young Nathan Drake, and Mark Wahlberg is Scott. And while they acted well in the movie, they were not believable as the characters because of our history with the video game.
Mm-hmm.
And at points in time, I had to separate gamer Mark with movie goer Mark. I realized that I probably got to look at this from two different angles. If you look at it from the gamer side of it, on like Free Guy, where it was just a randomness of video games stuff. This one is actually has a basis to it. So you're finding yourself, you know what? All right, yeah, I get it. This is based on the video game, and there's stuff that you would see from the video game that you've seen in real life. It was like, yeah, okay, fine. I know which game they got that from because there are four Uncharted games. So you could pick and choose where you see where they drew the inspiration from which game, whatever. I didn't buy the two leads. They have good chemistry. I feel like I kind of feel it's hard to not have chemistry with Tom Holland because he just comes off as this likable guy. So it will be hard not to have good chemistry with him. And everybody in their roles were good. Antonio Banderas, I guess he was believable as a villain, but he didn't scare me as a villain. If you understand, like, and he ultimately gets his, and I want to say that is the cleanest neck slice I have ever seen in a movie. The woman slaying his throat and the man did not bleed. I was like, okay, all right, yeah, I get it. PG. Let me not think.
You still got to appeal to the people that play the game.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, oh yeah, wait, there's a video game. But set pieces were as always was almost video game like, which could be good and could be bad. Because if you're watching it as a gamer, it's like, yeah, well, yeah, he does that in the game. That makes sense. When you translate it to live action, the physics don't exactly work out, but let me suspend disbelief here because it is based on a video game. Overall, I had a decent time watching it. Once I started to shut off that I don't really particularly care for the two actors in the roles that they're playing. Tom Holland to me was a little too young. Actually, both were a little too young for the roles they were playing, and I get that it is an early Nathan Drake, but even in the games, he was never that young that Tom Holland portrays, and I guess it's no fault of his because he just has that, still has not lost that teenager look, and well, I guess that's good genes and kudos to him. But Drake is a seasoned person. He's been through some shit and he has the scars to wear it. Even in his even when they in the games when they flash back to his earlier days, he was a rebel. Like he got into trouble. He had the scars. He wore them proudly, and I just was my issue. Like I said, it was a little just that was my main gripe with the movie. The two lead actors were a little too young for the roles that they were playing. Everybody else fit in good, and they had, like I said, it was a good just sit down. All right, yeah, cool, that's fine. All right, haha, yeah, we do something like that in the game. So it was a decent to enjoyable watch for me.
I agree with mostly what you said. So for me, when they announced they were doing this movie, I was like, first things first, you know how we feel about video game movies. They rarely get them right. And then you had the casting of Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as Sully, Victor Sullivan. And, in the video games, Nate is a little older. He's around like 30 in the beginning of the first game. He's around 30, a little over 30. And he's a bit taller. So like Nathan Drake is around 6 feet, while Tom Holland is a 5'8" actor. Now I know there's a difference of about 4 inches, but in terms of stature and presence, Nathan Drake has a bit more of a imposing stature, right? In the context of the video game. Now, and so does Mark, because Mark Wahlberg is about 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". So Sully in the video games is like over 6 foot. He's taller than Nate at 6 foot.
Yeah.
So to me, I didn't like the casting. And then of course, these are younger characters. Sully is supposed to be a way older man, probably about 20 years older than Nate. And two of them look like they're about 15 years apart. Now, granted, in real life, Mark Wahlberg is that age, but he doesn't look it. If you understand what I mean. So
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
so like hair and makeup could have done a job. Could have potentially done something to make him look that age. And of course, he's portly. Now, of course, this is like a prequel to the video games.
Mhm.
Even though they took a lot of elements from the video game franchise, a lot of set pieces, a lot of characters, etc., right? Themes, etc. But that's fine. I will tell you, after watching the movie, I realized why they casted those two men. Because if I were looking for a young actor that is going to do a lot of physicality in the role and have a lot of quips and be very natural and dynamic, charismatic in his delivery of, because Nathan Drake is like, as he's dealing with bad guys, he's giving them quips. He's like a Spider Man. You know what I mean? Like, as he's dealing with the bad guys, he's kind of unsure about himself. He's playing himself. He has no plan really when he's dealing with the enemies and the puzzles, etc. He kind
Playing
of
by the city fast.
exactly. So Tom Holland portrays that very well, right? So if you're going for a young actor that has all of those traits, you would choose Tom Holland. I have no problem with that, right? Um, Victor Sullivan is gruff. He has this New York slash Boston accent. Um, he has to be physical in terms of, because I would be honest, in the video games, it wasn't very realistic to see a portly, cigar smoking Victor Sullivan shooting at men, running and climbing up things just like Nate. So I understand Mark Wahlberg's casting, right? So I understand it. It just, as you say, visually based on the source material, you kind of and you had trepidation. But afterward, I felt okay. I understand. And during watching the movie, like you, I had to kind of suspend my remember and just suspend my disbelief during it. Like, all right, stop looking at this as Tom Holland Spider Man and Mark Wahlberg, what he does and his spiel. See these as the characters they are. Try to immerse yourself in it. Like Nathan Drake, in the video game and in this movie, Nathan Drake has an older brother, and that is kind of his part of his motivation in doing certain things. Going about looking for treasure, he wants to find his brother. He gets the postcards. Those things are straight out of the video game, and those things are present in the movie, right? So you can, I don't want to say it, but you kind of close your eyes and just see Nathan Drake through it, right? And then necessarily like Tom Holland's voice for Nathan Drake, but again, once you suspend your disbelief enough, it works. Now, the set pieces and the special effects. Now, on this channel and in certain spaces, we talk about lies and how you just want me to believe your movies. You set in reality and grounded in reality. But here you go. You got these set pieces that are so outlandish and impossible, defying physics and defying probability and luck and all those things. However, like for example, there's one scene in the movie which it opens on, which I love. Let me before I go, I love how they did that. So in the video games, what they do is they show you Nathan Drake in a particular situation in peril. It's a big accident. It is, he's in a situation, and it's kind of like, "Hi, I'm Nathan Drake. You're probably wondering how he got here," and then it goes back, right? So
You're record track.
right,
I'm Nathan. You may be wondering how I get here.
right. So then it goes back to why he is in that situation. And the movie does a very good job of doing that. He's on this. Well, he's not even on the plane. He's dangling in midair on a crate that is attached to a plane.
Yeah.
That is high above some islands, and yeah, he's knocked unconscious. He wakes up and he's kind of got to figure out how he can get off, how he can not fall out the air and dead. He has no parachute, etc. I love how they set that up, but back to these set pieces, you see these set pieces, and I know somebody that's not familiar with the video games will watch this and be like, "This is beer jump. This is so unrealistic. I don't know." But ladies and gentlemen, that is the video game.
I'm saying
that is the video game. Like that is taken from that particular set piece. Is taken from Uncharted 3.
Yep.
Right, where literally almost certain elements of it happens in the video game. Now, as
Yeah.
you climb up,
Almost scene for scene.
right, as you climb up those crates or whatever, you have button prompts and stuff like that on your controller that makes Nate's attack guys, climb here, jump here, do those sort of things. And yes, he survives, right? So for me and for Mark, I would assume that didn't seem out of place, and we allow it because that is in keeping with the spirit and the heart of Uncharted, right? Uncharted do a lot of wellness like that. So I didn't have a problem with the set pieces. I didn't have a problem with the actual treasure hunting and stuff like that. Again, it is like an Indiana Jones. Uncharted itself is taken from Indiana Jones, inspiration from Indiana Jones. So I did not have a problem with certain elements in the treasure hunting and what they did. Yes, there's a lot of double cross in these Uncharted games, and by extension, this movie, everybody double crossing everybody, almost to seemingly unrealistic and impossible odds. But again, that is straight out of the video game, right? So basically, what I'm saying, the spirit of the video game is there, right? So if you love Uncharted, you should like this movie at the very least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not
you ain't gonna love. You ain't gonna outright love it.
right. Right. I mean, yeah, but you ain't gonna hate it, right? Well, you should.
I mean, it ain't Mario Brothers.
Exactly. Oh Lord, right? But the villain of it, run of the mill villain. I was surprised they got Antonio Banderas, but I assume they got him because the Spanish.
Yep.
Moncanado and all of that. I guess they got him for that.
They give the right representation.
Certain characters like the casting of Chloe and Joe in the video games. I can't remember. I think it's 3 as well, where Chloe is introduced, and there is another woman who is working for the bad guys in that movie, and then they become good. Now, I don't know if Joe is supposed to be that character or if they just drew inspiration to create that character, because this woman was out and out bad, and she meets her end in the end of this, or seemingly, because sometimes
I know it is.
Right, she might come out with an eye missing or something, right, a scar or whatever. But anyhow, she meets her end at the end of the movie, and I thought Chloe was a good Chloe. I thought she was a really good Chloe. Even down to her appearance, they did a very good job. She has on her red and black, and I love that. For me, I would like to see. I can't remember who was Nathan Drake's love interest in the games that he ended up marrying.
The reporter.
So in the video games, he marries a woman called Eleanor. He meets and marries a woman called Eleanor. They meet in the first game. They have adventures throughout the series, and then at some point they get married, have a child, etc. Right?
Yeah,
four, and they have a lot of their like she is important and integral to the series. Right? And it would have been nice to see, even if it was in passing, if he had met Eleanor. You know what I mean? Like just in passing, this reporter trying to like get some dirt on the Moncanados or some Moncanadas or something, not knowing full well that they're corrupt, but nobody else notices it. She's doing an expose piece on assignment in Spain, or she working for a spot, like something like that.
I guess they were trying. They weren't trying to get the, because I do believe they were trying to launch a franchise. So I guess they didn't want to bombard too many characters, put too many characters in it, bombard you with characters and be like, we know her. So they just try to be, I guess this is more like, let me test the waters, let me see the reaction, let me see how much money we can pull in, see if it's worth doing a sequel.
Now, this was in development for a long time. This was, as a matter of fact, this was in development from like the first or second game. This was in development after because the first game was a runaway success. They didn't expect that success.
Correct.
Because it was a relatively unknown title. It was coming on the PlayStation 3, which, was transitioning from
like a launch title sort of stuff.
Right, it was a launch title. So like they had the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 was a massive success as a console on a platform. They went to PlayStation 3. It had a kind of rocky launch. You had Uncharted being a launch title. So it was unexpected, but it did and even when it first released, Uncharted was not a good game. Well, it was a good game, but it wasn't well received.
The mechanics were iffy in the first one. I remember that for sure.
Right, but after a while, it had a cult following. It gained massive success. They made a second one, which was even a lot better. Naughty Dog was coming into their own with video games, and the series launched off. So
have they made a bad game?
Naughty Dog?
Yeah.
I
I
can't
can't think
tell
of
you.
I can't think of a
Naughty
bad
Dog.
game.
That's one thing about Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog makes sure that when they make a video game,
Mhm.
that they do it well. Like shoot, like
They're just the insomniac games.
anyhow, it's not
Not
uh,
about video games.
video games. Uncharted. Before I forget, you see the scene with the boats because the scene with the boats in the air and the helicopters and stuff. I know a lot of people may have been turned off by that, particularly if you never
That
played
is
it.
that is straight out of Uncharted 4.
Yeah, that's straight
That
out.
is straight out of
Straight
4.
out of that is straight out of the video games. These things happen in the source material. So as people that know the IP, and I mean, sure, if you don't like it, that's fine. If you don't never play the games or whatever, that's fine. But for us watching it, we was like, this is Uncharted. This is
Yeah,
Uncharted, right?
like
So
and I think they had just enough moments for you to say, yeah, this is Uncharted.
mhm.
Like despite you might not like the casting choices, and even though you made sense in why they would cast these people would still have a problem with it. But there were just enough. There were enough moments of, okay, we gotta solve this puzzle. This puzzle is going to lead to another clue. It was almost like what's the picture with Nicolas Cage? Oh God,
National
that's
Treasure.
right, right. But again, everything is based off of a Indiana Jones template. So if you have a treasure hunting, treasure seeking movie, it will always bear resemblance to Indiana Jones, whether we like it or not. But there were enough of the hidden contraptions and you gotta go over here to turn this here, and then somebody gotta turn this here over here, and you gotta rearrange this, and it might look like a dead end, and you go back home and you think again and say, oh shoot, no, this is it. They did enough of the Uncharted stuff in the movie to make you say, okay, fine. It's a decent representation. And like you said, that the ships flying in the air, I was just like, yeah, that's Uncharted 4. Like, let me go, let me have fun here. And for the most part, they were very well executed.
Right. You know, a lot of people online, Rotten Tomatoes, for example, they have the approval rate of 40%, 5.2 out of 10. One critic on it says, promisingly cast but misleadingly titled, Uncharted mines its best source material to produce a disappointing echo of superior adventure films. And if I'm going to be honest, I would agree with that in the most part, but it's still a good watch. I think it is a contemporary.
We
Uh,
we went into this looking for Schindler's List.
But let's be fair though. Let's be fair. It's not Indiana Jones because those Indiana Jones movies are far better watch than this.
Yeah,
Because
agree. But
so
at the same time, for me, while Uncharted is based off of Indiana Jones, and I have not watched them in a while, you could correct me. Indiana Jones is 92% grounded in reality.
um
Like for the most part, I mean, except for the what's the one that took off the when the
you mean the
Germans met the fate.
right the Pandora's box, no, yeah, Pandora's box, yeah.
Right. Except for that part, and I guess the man putting the hand in somebody's chest and pulling out the heart, a la Kano from from Mortal Kombat. Like for the most part, Indiana Jones was grounded in reality.
Mhm.
Whereas you are now looking at a video game. So I understand where you say they're superior adventure films, but they are not Indiana Jones wasn't tied to any source material, if I remember correctly. That was just
Right, there's George Lucas creating.
right.
Mhm.
So whatever he did, but where you're following somewhat of a source material. I understand what he's saying, but I can almost guarantee you that he was not an avid gamer.
Yeah. Right. So but even by this review, right? Even by that thing, to me, I'm not taking it as a bad thing because it is going to be very very hard to one up Indiana Jones, and some may even say National Treasure is a better movie than that. And even though I may agree as a
I give you National Treasure 1.
right as a treasure hunting adventure movie, those movies are better. However, this is based on a video game, as you were saying, right? So I dig it. I dig it. I would recommend this. So, out of out of five Golden Crosses, what would you rate Uncharted?
It would come in about 3.5.
Three
Like
and
I
a
said,
three and a half. Okay.
although I did not like the casting, I think they were decent. The leads were decent in for what they had to work with. Set pieces were on par with what we know the game to be. Um, was it a little? I don't even think the runtime was a little bloated given what they were, but I'm pretty sure if I was to watch it again, I could find a little 20,
Yeah, they
a little
got
20 minute. I could so well,
they got a little
yeah,
they got a little bit of fat.
we could trim. But overall, I scroll and I see it on TV. I watch it because after all, as a gamer, you play it, all right, cool. It's actually a very decent representation. I mean, there are a lot worse video game movies out there. Looking at you, Mortal Kombat, but maybe not talk about that.
But I mean, anyhow, more.
Mortal Kombat was bad, but I come in at three and a
But
half. I
yeah,
come in at 3.5.
I rate this 3.5 out of 5 as well, and I think we are on the same page with this. I think that this score is going to be weighted for us because we are so in love with the video game franchise, and we've played it so extensively. We still have these games to this day, and every now and
Actually,
then.
I just bought the collection. Not just bought, but I got the anniversary collection where they put all three games together. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
right. So I mean, let us be very clear. This is going to be a little bias.
correct.
It's movies, so you can be
Yeah.
biased, and sometimes you got IPs that you really like and stuff like that. You can have a bias. That's fine. But for us, we think that this has the heart and soul of the Uncharted franchise. It may not be a superior treasure hunter adventure movie, but it does a very good job of bringing to life the Uncharted series by drawing from a lot of elements and having a lot of inspiration from that. The chemistry between the leads, even though they were not necessarily physically the best casting, I think the quips and the conversation and the heart and emotion was there. It is well acted. Let's get that out of the way. There are genuine moments where there are emotionally vulnerable scenes, and they are very well represented from the leads, and also Chloe. So I mean, I think it was well acted. I think that the set pieces were very in keeping with Uncharted, whether you like them or not. And I thought that the action was, you know, it was Uncharted. This was an Uncharted movie. Like if if I were to watch this movie and be like, oh, this movie is crap, and then play the video games, I was like, oh, okay, I think I will
Yeah.
readjust my score.
Correct.
So I think the movie is good if you're into Uncharted. If you've watched the video games, you should check this out, give it a watch. And even not you watch worse movies, give this a watch too. If you let me be
I
honest,
mean, we
right?
all know you've watched Red Notice.
You've
Like,
watched Red Notice.
yeah, you watched Red Notice.
And to me, if you could watch Red Notice, you could sit. No, shoot, if you watch Red Notice for however long it was, you could sit down and watch the same for 116 minutes.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to pass the time. I think that it is a decent enough movie that you can give it a watch and enjoy yourself. That's been it for Uncharted. Mark, strike at the band.
So thank you for joining us as always. And like my boy said at the beginning, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything from us coming up the pipeline. And we will see you in the next one.